Welcome to another episode. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to change your spark plugs on a 96 to 2004 4.6 Mustang. Go ahead and stay tuned.
Music bed.
All right, so one of the first things, it'll be helpful if you have a light, like a light like that, or just something to make sure help you see. This is obviously make sure that you have your spark plugs ready to go. Also, and this is personal preference, but I always like to use the electric grease on my spark plug boot connection, and then some anti-seize on the thread. So have that ready. Possibly like a, kind of like needle nose pliers if your boot stays stuck on the spark plug in the hole. Some of these to pull it out. 3/8 ratchet with a good spark plug socket, 5/8. I like to use this setup, so I always have this. It's got a U-joint, like a swivel, but I put tape on it. Taped it to the socket because since it goes in the hole, and what happens if you only have the swivel snapped into the socket, when you try to pull that spark plug out, or once you install the new one and you pull it out, the socket stays in there. Same thing with the extension. So unless it's like really tight, that stays in there. So I always tape it like this. So I know that the only place where it's gonna come up is up here, where I can, pretty much grab it with my hand here. So that's a tip that you guys can do. Just put some electrical tape on there. And I just keep this like this all the time for all the spark plugs. I have a different size of extensions just in case. I have a 7mm 1/4" drive socket and a little wrench, as well as a swivel or U-joint, and then a couple extensions with a 1/4" ratchet, and then a couple of screwdrivers just to take the intake or the cold air intake tube off. We might need some more tools as we go along, but this is kind of basic. You won't need exactly everything, but this is kind of, a good starting point here. Now I'm gonna get started on the passenger side. So I personally think this is the harder side to get your spark plugs done, just because you have your throttle body that sticks out this way, and your fuel line here on the way. So I think this makes it a little bit harder. The other side, all your plugs, especially on a Mustang, you're pretty easy to get to. And whether you have a cold air intake or you have your factory, you'll have to pretty much take this off. So it just gives you more room to work. I'm just gonna take it off with these hoses all together. That way they're all out of the way. So go ahead and put that aside. And so once you're in here, you'll see your coils. So you got your 4 coils. Got your PCV valve hose here, so I'm gonna move this out of the way as well, just that way it's kind of out of the way. And just be careful with a lot of your hoses. They might be brittle, and when you try to move them, they'll crack. So keep that in mind, especially like these little plastic ones here that go to like your EGR valve and all that. So just be careful. I'm gonna start by unplugging all the coils. So you got your 4 coil connectors here. Always make sure to squeeze the back and, you know, use both hands. Try not to pull it from the pigtail. Pull them back. If you have aftermarket coils, I know on the Roush we have the MSD coils, and those are really, really hard to get the connectors out of. So I don't know why, but they're just really tight. It was just that set. I don't know the reason, but. And this one here on the back is a little bit harder because you have your heater hose right next to it. So just be careful. Try not to move your heater hose too much. These heater hoses tend to crack here where the plastic connects to the firewall. This connection's here, so try not to put any force on it. Just be very careful with these because they always snap off. And the hard part is most of your parts stores don't carry those hoses with the ends. You'll have to buy them separate, and they're not built that well. So what I'm gonna do also is unplug the injector connectors. Those are right next to your coils. Just so that way I have a better view of that little 7mm bolt that holds those coils down. You don't have to do this specific part, but I think it, you know, it helps you get to those bolts easier. So alright, so I'm gonna grab the coil. I'm gonna try to get my fingers underneath and grab that rubber boot. Hopefully it comes out like this. If not, it's just gonna separate from here and you'll get your needle nose and pull this boot out. But this is good. And I'm gonna pull the coils out, and I'm just gonna keep them in order. I mean, no big deal if you don't put them in the same order, but I just like to do that. And again, I like to get my finger underneath, see if I can see this one. The boots stay down there. And so I'm just gonna make sure I grab a hold of it really good and pull it out. If I'm able to, I guess. Or not. So this one, I'm pretty sure there was no dielectric grease used in it. So it was stuck to the spark plug. So when I try to pull it out, it just ripped it. So I'm gonna have to replace this boot as well. Just be ready, you know, if your car has a lot of miles, might as well order new boots. Alright, so now I'm gonna grab my spark plug socket with the swivel. And like I said, this makes it easier because I could just drop this in there. You know, find the right angle to drop it in there. So this between the hoses here. And the socket's right up here, or the extension. So that's why I like to put that all taped together. On this one, I'm just going to use this extra 6-inch. So it's right up here. And just getting it loose. Once you have it loose, it should come out pretty straightforward by hand. Pretty easy. Unless my plugs one at a time. These are, I'm going with Motorcraft Platinums. These are pre-gap. Just make sure to double check the gap. Make sure it's not all the way collapsed or anything like that. And I like to put in my socket. This is a pretty cool socket. It's got a magnet in there. Besides, you know, the piece that holds it in place. So I like it because it really holds your plug. Sometimes the rubber pieces, they come out and they'll stay in the spark plug. And when you go to put like your coil, you can't because that piece is in there. This is a metal ring in there, so it doesn't come out. And like I said, it's got a nice magnet, so it holds it in place really good. So I'm just gonna put a little tiny bit of anti-seize in here. And I put it on the bottom of the threads because as I thread it in, it's just gonna, you know, kind of spread through all of them. Just a little bit of little dab in there. And I'll put I put it in there, and then I started by hand, so you don't have to You shouldn't have to turn it with your socket until it's in there quite a bit. You can tell if something's wrong. Don't force it. You know, like I can turn it pretty much all the way down by hand. So like that. Alright, so now we are ready to get the coils back in place. So I'm just gonna clean a little bit of this kind of oil they had around here before I put them in there. Alright, so with the dielectric grease, all I like to do is squeeze the tube and put some right in there. So that's gonna make it so that the spring gets some dielectric grease on the connection to the spark plug, and also the boot gets some as it goes around the spark plug, makes it so they won't get stuck in there. So just gonna put this coil back in there. Now once you drop it in there, it should pretty much guide right in there into the top of the spark plug, and then just make sure, kind of give it a push and put it right where the bolt would be. And then I'm just gonna grab my 7mm 1/4 inch. And again, these are just holding those coils down. You don't have to go crazy, just make sure it's snug. Alright. And once you do that, I'm gonna go ahead and work reverse and plug in my injectors. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and put that intake back in. Since we're done on this side here, I can always pull this out so it's not on my way over there. And sometimes these are a pain on the butt, depends what intake you have, but it's just you know. Gotta work it in. If you have the factory intake, you probably won't have that much trouble. But this being an aftermarket cheapy intake, they don't always fit the best. But anyways, got it in there. Make sure everything's gonna fit in there. I'm not gonna put that until I do that side, just in case it's on my way. And I'm gonna tighten up the clamps here. The other side, I'm just gonna put it on time lapse for you guys. If I run into anything out of ordinary, I'll stop and let you guys know, but it should be the exact same you know, procedure, just a little bit easier without taking the intake or anything off. Alright, so everything is all done. I put that air tube, vacuum tube back in there. Nothing really different on this side. As you saw on there, pretty straightforward. The only problem I had on this side was the connector to this coil. The little tab that you push on the bottom is broken, it's missing, so there was nothing for me to push on, so it unclips. So obviously I couldn't get it unclipped. So you know, when that happens, don't just jank on it. You're gonna, you know, you might break something. I just got this little pick and I got my flashlight and I just look underneath, and you know, this little plastic tab's still in there, so I just pushed it down gently and then just pulled it up. So that was the only thing that I guess had a little something different than the other side. But other than that, everything went well. Good to go, so not too bad. This is you know, changing your spark plugs on your 96 to 04 Mustang 4.6. If you guys have any questions, any comments, leave them down below. Please subscribe to the channel if this helped you in any way. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you.